is taken. All members are present. I don't see any other county board members here at this point, but if anybody wants to be paid for the meeting, they need to sign, indicate so on the sign-up sheet when it goes around. Public comment.
Good morning. My name is Steve Caulfield, and I want to address the Finance Committee this morning. At the Executive Committee meeting a couple weeks ago, there was a fair amount of discussion concerning the windfall funding through ARPA, with different trains of thought concerning the usage and distribution of funds. There is no immediate time constraints on these funds, so a logical, pragmatic mind, I believe, would explore the myriad numbers of options to enhance the community of Dodge County as a whole, and not piecemeal these funds to specific interest groups or pet projects held by our elected leadership and department heads. What if it would, so what if it would take a period of months and additional meetings if it meant a well-planned, transparent process, thus engendering goodwill and public support from the citizens of this county? As it stands now, a fraction of the residents of this county will be receiving a bonus they did not work for, nor were they under any type of financial duress during the illegitimate lockdowns that severely impacted the private sector of this county. But no, the elected executive leadership of this county took it upon themselves, along with the weight of the county executive, to push through and thumb their nose at the vast majority of Dodge County residents, that in their administrative capacity, they could supersede any semblance of process, committee involvement, and strategic planning to illicitly reward public employees that were just doing what they were contracted to do. It seems unconscionable that there has been so little pushback from fellow board members concerning this particular resolution. This is just the most glaring of the budgetary gerrymandering in Dodge County is experiencing during this period of budgeting. The taxpayers of Dodge County deserve better from the elected officials and department heads. I urge this committee to do the right thing and table this particular resolution, then use a more open and transparent committee approach to the expenditures of these funds. Oh, and by the way, 2022 is another election cycle.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else? Anyone else for public comment? All right, public comment is closed. What's your pleasure, the minutes from November 1st?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Seconded by Kira. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain since I wasn't there.
Nancy abstains. Thank you. All right, we have a whole group of ordinances, resolutions, and ordinances for fiscal notes. Are there any you want to pull out, or do you want to authorize me to sign the fiscal notes?
We should go in order.
You want to go through each one? Okay. Number one, number A is a resolution authorizing the sheriff to enter into contracts with local units of government for the provision of certain law enforcement services from the JPP committee.
I move Rob sign fiscal. I'll second it.
We have discussion.
Just see, there is a block of fiscal note. Let's see what the template's been worked on.
The template is
At the time this resolution was getting ready, we were working on the template. The template is finished.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Pharmaceuticals, Ortho-McNeil, Janssen Pharmaceuticals, and Janssen Pharmaceutica, authorizing Dodge County to enter into the memorandum of understanding allowing settlement proceeds and authorizing Dodge County to enter into the MOU with the Attorney General.
I'll move to approve the fiscal note on this.
I'll second it. I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Nancy. Yeah, we had discussion on all of this, and we need to be involved in order to get it closed, right? So, all right. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. C is 2021 and 2022 Dodge County Sheriff's Office Budget Amendment, Public Safety Partnership and Community Policing Grant, JPC.
I'll move.
Move to approve. Second by Ed, seconded by Jerem. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. D is the authorizing Dodge County Detention Facility Sprinkler Head Replacement Project from the Building Committee.
So moved.
Seconded by Kira.
Yes.
I thought that's what you were doing. All right. Any other questions?
Is it 10% contingency, is that normal?
That's pretty normal, yeah. Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Letter E, authorizing the purchase of 4 2022 Mack 79,000-pound triaxle truck chassis from the Highway Committee.
I will make a motion to approve the fiscal note on this one.
Second.
Second by Ed. Questions? Questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. F, authorize the purchase of 2 new self-propelled mid-mount brooms from the Highway Committee.
I will make the motion to approve fiscal note on this one as well.
Second.
Second by Ed. Any, questions on this one? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. And then G, authorize the 2022-2024 labor agreement between Dodge County and Dodge County Sheriff's Office sworn employees, Local 120, from the Human Resources Labor Negotiations Committee.
Move to approve.
Motion by Nancy,
Second.
second by Jeff. Questions on this one?
Looks like $17,000 budget would be absorbed through their department.
So what does that mean, that it gets absorbed?
Well, they'll find money somewhere else in there.
They're gonna have to
find
cut
it.
somewhere
They'll cut
else.
somewhere else.
Less overtime or something.
Do something to get that money.
All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Number 6, we're at the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale not to exceed 11,655,000 general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2022A, for the Finance Committee to sign on.
I will make the motion to sign on.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Nancy. Questions, discussion?
Well, if we're gonna save, just $860,000 by doing this, and interest is a good reason not to.
Can I ask a historical question? Has this ever been, rebonded before?
We have rebonded, but not this group, right? Is that right, Bill, or-
Correct.
Good morning, Phil Costa with Ellers, and if you want, I can walk through this a little bit if you would like. Take a minute or two. We have, in your packet, we put together a pre-sale report. And this first, there's a 2022A and a 2022B issue. This is the 2022A issue. And this is purely to refinance the 2014 issue. Now, this was really a combination of being refinanced for the purpose of pure savings. We're not looking to extend the debt, we're not looking to short the debt. And as you can see, what we've identified is an estimated future savings of about $853,000 over the next 9 years. What's unique here a little bit is some of this is highway, some of it is Clearview. So the principal on this issue is,
No, it's 100%,
Clearview, okay, so with that. All of the savings will be Clearview related. That will be, so it's not going to necessarily impact directly the debt levy, but really benefit Clearview in the savings. This has not been refinanced before this issue. The law has changed a number of years ago where you can't do what's called an advanced refunding, meaning prior to the call date. So this, we had to wait until the call date, which is this coming year, meaning we can refinance the debt issue without any penalties or prepayment costs at all. So this will be, if it moves forward, today this will be sold at your meeting in January with the expectation that we'll be able to lock in the rates at that time.
Any other questions?
What's the anticipated interest rate at, at one point it was like 7-8% or something. That's still just about what it's.
Yeah, a little bit higher. We've seen a little bit of movement in the market. We expect this to still be in that 1%, 1.25% range. We have seen the market move a little bit, partly driven, I think, by inflation as much as anything else, and we're starting to see a creep in interest rates. But typically, in our world, what we find is that January is a light time to issue, and the reason being it's just, if you think about it, through the holidays, you gotta authorize the sale, you gotta have things in place in time for a January sale. So usually not a lot in the market, and that will drive a number of bidders, and we would expect to see very favorable rates. So I do think a very good time to be in the market. But we have seen rates increase. We have a chart on the next page that shows the what's happened. I'm sorry, the following page after this kind of shows what's happened over the last 3 years in the bond market. And really, what you can see, it's a little bit hard to see there, but we're bouncing off the lows that we saw in July, August of 2020. Again, a pretty significant drop this summer. We've seen a little bit of a creep up, and again, some recovery in the bond market again of late. So we typically, the holidays, December, January are pretty light, and we would expect the market to kind of level out between now and then. So we're not expecting a lot of rate movement.
Was this the net savings? The 859
Correct.
net
It's the actual net savings after all costs. That is correct.
Dave, you had a question?
So, I mean, I haven't seen a fiscal note for this, but when it comes, but do we budget for the $200,000 in costs to do the refinance? Because I assume that's all up front. But it's not a question for you as much as for Dave, yeah.
The 22 adopted budget includes the assumption both 2022 A and B are going forward, so the amounts are already budgeted for in Clearview.
Any other questions from the committee? The next one is the 2022B, which a lot of similar stuff, but if you want to go ahead with that one.
Yeah, certainly. If you recall last year, we had issued a $9 million general obligation note for highway projects, and that was part of the financing that occurred last year with the anticipation that there would be a second tranche of notes issued for highway projects again this year. So we are anticipating to do that again. That's the 2022B issue. These were separated out. They're really two separate purposes, two different timelines from the standpoint of how this, kind of the execution of this occurs. So you can see with issuance expense, it would be $9,155,000 for this highway project financing. You go to the next page, Dave. I know this is a little bit difficult to read. It's in your packet as well. But what this is really showing is the tax impact of this capital borrowing. So most of the county's debt is offset either by sales tax and or by Clearview. In this case, this issue, the 2022B issue, which is all for highway projects, would be actually levied. And you can see that if you look at the third column from the right, when we look at the average impact on a home valued at $195,500, which is the average in the county, that due to the 22 borrowing, it was about $25 per thousand. That was from last year. When we added this projected issue, that increases to $49 per thousand for the average homeowner until the debt is paid off. And then by 2032, last year's issue is paid off and it drops back to $21.87. So this would be levied and it would have a direct impact on the different property taxpayers throughout the county as a result of this issue. So this would be the second. And we, again, last year spent quite a bit of time talking about the roughly $18 million in highway projects that were to be financed. This is the second series to accomplish that. From a timing perspective, that the sales would occur on the same day. Again, interest rates are going to be relatively the same as what we had just talked about for this issue as well.
Questions from the committee? I have a motion to move forward.
I will make the motion forward with this.
I'll second it.
Go ahead. Further discussion?
Just one comment that we're sent out tax bills for the town of Fox Lake. I've got nothing but compliments for the county levy going down.
Even with this, the levy's going down.
Yeah. Well, but it's not to what, $300 is what most people are saving right now. This year. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
One nay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Resolution is to amend the 2022 Grants County budget and authorize general fund transfer to Grants County purpose. HR. Who wants to speak to that? Rich?
Thank you. I apologize for having to bring this resolution here. I was out of the country when the budget was passed. But I'm looking to get a 2% wage increase across the board. The money's to come from the general fund. Social Security benefits are going up 5.9% this year, or this coming year, and inflation right now is at 6.8%. We've just negotiated a contract with Sworn in the Sheriff's Department for a 3-year contract of 3%, 3.5%, and 3.75%. We're also giving a $6,000 sign-on bonus for CNAs and jailers over a 2-year period. And my thought is that we've had 2 wage studies since I've been here. First was from Carlson Detman, and their last recommendation was a 10% across the board increase, which there is no way that we could possibly do. And now we have the McGrath study, that we're only a little over a year into that, and we're already throwing that under the bus. I believe that this should be handled by HR instead of spending thousands and thousands of dollars on wage studies. And it could be done through HR. And all of the time that the HR and other department heads have had is spending time and energy trying to help with these to finance for wages in our county, I think is a waste of our monies. I looked at our new employees that are going to be hired, temporary employees. If the 1.25% that they're saying for the county, I look at the bailiff part-time. In 2021, he's being paid $15 an hour. If 1.25, he should be getting 18 cents an hour increase, but he's getting $1. You look, I can look at treasurer, seasonal help. They went from 10.75 to 11.75. They should have got 13 cents. I look at seasonal highway from 12.25 to 13.25. They're giving all of these people $1 increase where they should be getting 10 or 15 cents according to what they're giving our employees, that we should be showing our appreciation to them, and we're not doing anything to help our employees. I just feel that the monies that we're giving our employees, if they're receiving $20 an hour now, at the end of 2022, they'll be receiving $20.25, which to me is very significant in how much they're going to be paying extra with the inflation rate the way it is. I can't stress how much I feel that I went to Human Resources Committee, and we passed unanimously to give a wage increase across the board of 2% in addition to the 1.25% at a cost of $683,000 and $392. This money, I feel, is something that we should definitely spend the money on. We talk about hiring and retention. I look at hiring and retention. For us to hire in our county now, we're not being competitive at all. And to retain our employees, we are definitely going to lose employees. In the private sector, Walmart Distribution Center is now hiring at $25 an hour. Roundy's and Oconomowoc, $25.82 an hour. For us to compete, we have to at least show our employees that we do care for them and appreciate all the work that they're doing. So that is the resolution that I brought forward to you, that was signed by everyone on the HR committee, other than Dan Hilbert, who was absent. All of the department heads came to our HR meeting and echoed support for the 2% increase. I'm asking you on the finance committee to do the same and to bring it to the county board for a decision on December 21st. Thank you.
So the resolution is to amend the budget to increase the pay increase from 1.25 to 3.25 people. Is that correct?
working at the jail for $15 an hour in 2021, he should have gotten 18 cents, but he got $1.
Yes.
And the other one was supposed to get 13 cents, but they also got $1.
I have many examples.
Well, that sounds like it.
So, yeah, it sounds contradictory to what you
Okay,
were saying.
okay. Thank you, Seth, thank you, yeah.
I'm saying, this was already passed, that they do receive this. So we're giving new employees $1 an hour, and we're giving our employees 25 cents. That's what I'm saying to you, and we're not paying, these are new employees that those people are receiving dollar increases from what they did in they're new employees.
Right, I got you. Who approved that? Okay, go ahead.
Let's
Sorry.
have Dave clarify for us.
Those individuals are outside the class and comp plan. Those are part-time and seasonal employees who the HR committee sets their rates at various times of the year. So they do not qualify for the 1.25% COLA or anything like that.
So they're part-time and seasonal, they don't get other benefits.
Sarah, correct me if
That's
I'm wrong,
correct.
but, yep.
No other benefits, but they got 87 cents or 83 cents more for an hourly wage. Can I ask another clarifying question? Obviously, I missed this. In what way, I was not around for Carl Settelment, but the McGrath study is relatively recent. In what way has that already been thrown under the bus? What isn't being implemented?
Well, the McGrath study was because we were below market on wages. And by us giving a 1.25 surround, I don't know if you have it in your packet, the resolution, but other municipalities and counties are giving their employees a 3% wage increase. So we were below market value for wages, and we still are. And now with a 1.25%, we're going to fall even further behind the market. And for me, for hiring and retention of employees, we are going to lose employees. I can tell you that without any question in my mind. And to hire new employees, the only things that we are going to be able to do in the county, I see, is cut services, because we will not be able to give the services that we are right now.
Okay.
I guess I understand, maybe I didn't read this correctly, but this is a one-time payment, or we're not increasing their wages.
No,
Just
we have two different things.
Yeah.
This one increases the wages, and there's a separate one for a different payment. There's two proposals here.
Right.
Okay.
Sheriff?
So last week, the HR committee had presented 43 letters from our employees directly related to this issue here of wages. They're frustrated. They have been frustrated for a long time. And I'm going to get those to you hopefully by county board. I want to get into the JPP first. But after HR, of course. My concern is that they've been stressing these to me for years. There's been employees who, and I'm sure you've been part of some of the adjustments that have been made. There have been a lot of employees who have been stuck in the middle where maybe we lopped off the bottom two and moved them up. And people that were in step 3, step 4, maybe they got a couple cents where other people were getting bigger raises. The biggest issue, I was just at a sheriff conference on Thursday and Friday, and with 43 other sheriffs, we were sitting there chatting about wages. And they're going around talking about how short they are. I think Washington County said they're down 7 dispatchers in corrections all over the place. It's just awesome. And when I told them we were 1.25, there was a gasp in the room. Like, are you kidding me? Gasp in the room. And Fond du Lac County is going to be starting at 26 something here, not without, and that's before their bonus. We are starting at 2161. With this 1.25, that is the theme around the county. I had another neighboring sheriff, I put out a little recruitment video, said, hey, come work here, we'd love to have you. Dodge County's a great place to work. We started 2161, he calls me and he said, I'm putting out another one, says, hey, you can start at 2161, or you can come up here to my county and you can start for $3 an hour higher. That is a real issue when we are struggling to find staff. And 1.25, people are seeing that, and do they want to come work here when we're not trying to keep up with the market? That has been the biggest complaint I have heard from our staff, and not just corrections. We're very, very fortunate in communications that we are full staffed. That is not normal, and that's due to we've got a lot of people that still have that sense of loyalty, longtime employees. That's kind of falling by the wayside. I think we all know that. That's different generational values. I'm nervous about when they start retiring and how we're going to be able to start filling those things. I wanted to share that with you because the employees are making comments that we are out there looking. We are going to find other jobs that are not Monday through Friday dealing with the things that we have to deal with every day, the stressors they have to deal with every day. That they would be happy at this point to go work for $25 an hour and work Monday through Friday day shift, rather than where they're at now, working 24/7 and dealing with what they have to deal with at wages that are subpar to that. So I will get you all of those letters by the county board meeting so that you all have them, so that you can all read their concerns. They were unfiltered, and just so you have some good information when you are making those decisions. Thank you.
Other questions? Here.
So if we were to take that dollar amount of $683,000 some odd dollars and turn that 3.25% raise into a specific dollar amount that goes across the board to all staff, what would that dollar amount be?
It's the same calculation you asked for when the budget adoption was done, about 31 cents an hour.
Is that it? Is that for the 1 1/4, or is that for 3 1/4?
That is taking the 2%
2%
increase,
difference.
allocating it out, and I have to add the caveat based upon 80 hours, because I need a number.
My thought on that is, we're not gonna solve this long-term problem. What I'm understanding is for several years, there has been a wage problem, and there are people getting stuck in these spots where they're getting nothing and someone else is getting $1. The most practical way to stop that from happening is to have, for a cost of living increase, be the same amount for everyone across the board who works for us, so that we prevent that from happening anymore. Merit raises and steps are a separate issue. But for COLA, if it's an across the board, percentage, or if it's $1 amount for everybody, that complaint of $1 versus 13 cents will no longer exist. But I do want to say that we're taking money out of the general fund. No one brought a different amount prior to the adoption of the budget. No one, no department head brought this forward, no, the administrator didn't, no one from HR, nobody. So to have it happen after the budget is adopted, and see another one following that of a COVID bonus, or premium pay, I don't want, it is a bonus, it says premium bonus. It isn't a small amount of money. Would anyone have any objection to changing that to a dollar amount versus a percentage?
You wanted to clarify something, I think.
Yes, I did. I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute here. When we were getting the 22 budget together, the 1 1/4% was the amount directed by the Finance Committee and the HR Committee to do so. That's number one. Number two, if you're going to change this to a flat dollar amount per person, I have to recalculate numbers, and you're going to have to change the numbers, because Clearview will have a much higher percentage of employees, because they have more people at the lower end of the pay scale. So then, I can't do that today. That absolutely cannot get done today if you're going to change it to a flat dollar amount. Number three, the reason why nothing was brought up is at the budget adoption, Supervisor Boucher was not available. Your county board rules do not let somebody vote by proxy. Another supervisor tentatively said, I will submit it on behalf of Supervisor Boucher. That supervisor withdrew his tentative offer. We had yourself, who was looking at the 31 cents an hour. We had another county board supervisor asking for pay raise. I can't ask why, or I cannot answer why of those three, or I know why Boucher's could not go forward. I cannot say why the other two came forward. So this is not a surprise. The department heads have been very much aware of it, so please do not insinuating this comes out of the blue.
That's not the insinuation. It
And
was-
lastly, regarding the ARPA for the employees, this is on the agenda because the HR committee directed it to do so. So it's not the finance department, it's not the county administrator putting this back on. You elected officials asked to put it back on, so that's why it's there. I'm off my soapbox now.
Question here. As far as, you know, being this was unable to be budgeted for, and so that therefore it's coming out of the general fund, how does that affect our total general fund as far as a percentage wise, or where we should be, or?
This will put us in the range of between the 2% minimum, excuse me, not 2%, 2 months minimum goal, minimum, and the 3 months goal. So we will be in that range. I couldn't tell you where we are at. We're getting more surprises as we go, so.
Generally, it's not going to affect it to where we're below policy.
Correct. You will not be below, when I drafted the fund balance policy, I drafted it purposely to give flexibility. A goal is different than a requirement.
I just, speaking from the highway committee's perspective, we have this very same discussion that the sheriff just told us about, Supervisor Boucher told us about, that we can't hire people at the scale that we currently are at because the public sector is just paying so much more. I see this as at least a step to get us moving in the right direction. Is it perfect? Maybe not, but it certainly sends a message to the employees that we want to try to help them and stay somewhere in the market with wages. I will make a motion to move the court.
Motion to move this forward. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
More discussion.
What kind of a precedent does it set when we start, we just passed the budget and now we're going to go and change it again? So I do worry about that. And I understand that we need to pay people and, you know, I see all the signs too of $20+ an hour and all sorts of sign-on bonuses, but I guess I worry, since we just passed the budget, why are we doing this?
And that's a valid concern. And I think that my concern too is we have a separate premium bonus resolution. Personally, I don't feel like we can do both. But I think the percentage going to 3 1/4 will do more to retain employees than a premium bonus will. Personally.
I would agree with Supervisor Kennevic.
Coming in.
That it should have been part of the original budget, you know, and I understand your concern with that. Frankly, it it is a bit after the fact, but there were circumstances that made it that way, and as HR is asking us to sign on and support this, even though it's not exactly the way we wish it would have come down, I think in the long run to take care of our employees is probably more important than the procedure that is still necessary.
Any other questions?
Is there any support for changing this to an even dollar amount across the board for a cost of living increase? The cost of bread is the same whether you're the county administrator or a CNA. And that's what we're calling it, a cost of living increase. I don't know.
I fought for a dollar amount once, I don't know how many years I've been on the county board, maybe 10 years now, maybe something like that, I don't know for sure, but anyhow, I went for the dollar amount, and so far that I've been on the county board, it went through once on a dollar amount, and I fought to get that, and the objection I heard was compression in the rates, and they closed rates up now, and you will have compression. I never really, I could see what they're talking about, but a person getting $10 an hour and a person getting $20 an hour, that's a $10 differential. If they both got 50 cents, it would still be same differential, $10, but I never really understood the compression part, but I know that it's a tough sell to try and get it to go with a dollar amount.
So do you support that
Yes,
in theory?
yes.
Is there some way to get that fixed before we go to the county board with our approval?
I can't say that it would, because for one thing, it's already, the resolution has gone through HR. And for this to come back, it would never make it by the first of the year, for sure.
We could make it by January. We could get this fixed and do it the right way, right from the beginning, being that we've already passed the budget. This could be a way to re-review it, have it go, even if you want it to be changed here and then sent back to HR and then have it make it to the county board meeting in January, I could get behind that. I just see this recurring issue of people at the bottom never being able to buy that loaf of bread, and I think that I have seen other counties who have made that their full policy with regard to COLA, and I'd love the opportunity to discuss that, and, to make it a policy going forward, but for at least this budget, we could make it for this budget, and I could get behind that.
And I'm not against that. I will say that both of the wage studies that we had done criticized that. They did not believe that was a way to go. I guess both companies were more into the percentage rather than a flat fee.
I hear you, but I also heard Supervisor Crochet say that he wants to take it out of the consultancies and back into HR. And I think that we have to customize our wage for A, what we can afford to pay and still maintain services, and B, meets the needs of our employees, not the employees in Fond du Lac, not the employees in Washington County. And if our employees have been suffering with this issue, we can address that pretty quickly.
I'm going to go to Ed first and then to Sarah.
I guess I have to agree with Kira on the dollar amount. I think it's more fair because the lower people get the same amount as everyone else.
Especially if it's a cost of living increase, not merit.
Yeah.
Merit's the way they are.
Sarah.
As far as you said, there's other counties that do, their policy is to do a flat amount. Can I get the names of those? Because I'd like to see how their pay grades and system is set up. Theirs may be different than where ours is. Ours is based off of a percentage, and that's how it gets developed through the consultant. So if we need to change our system, we need to look at that.
Sure.
If that's
One
the
of them
way.
came through paperwork that I got, documents that I got right through here, so I'll take a look at those first, and then I will give you the other ones that I have.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm sure that there's many ways to handle and we're gonna change the way that we've got our pay plan set up, we need to look at changing the whole thing, not just piecemealing it out. And, you know, what we adopted was a percentage-based pay plan.
Dave?
There's more question for David. How was the 1.25 decided? You said that the board made that decision, or the finance committee? Who made that decision?
That was the directive given, the joint directive from the HR committee and the finance committee, approximately March, April. Jerry,
Right.
correct me if I'm wrong.
And, well, let me just follow up a little bit. You know, I'm okay with March people. So was there at any point then where that was deemed to be non-sustainable, or it wasn't gonna work, or? I mean, those recommendations, the recommendation to 1.25, I assume, came from the administrator or from somebody else. Because I participated in some of these meetings. I mean, the board member didn't say, hey, let's do 1.25. So I'm trying to understand where the 1.25 came from.
I can't answer that question right off the top of my head.
Jim?
Through the budget adoption process, as Dave Ellinger had indicated early in the process, there was a discussion with the Human Resource Committee and the Finance Committee regarding the budget. And at that time, there was discussion on a cost of living adjustment on a percentage basis, not a set penny amount, but a percentage basis. And at that time, it was 1.25%. There's no question that the situation changed economy-wise from, say, May of 21 through November of 21, where it certainly was apparent that the cost of living percentage included in the budget of 1.25% was low. We did not have a directive to change that. We were made aware of in late October, after the budget was presented to the county board, that there was an effort made through various supervisors to adjust that and to bring forward a budget amendment on November 9th. And so we supported that, did the calculation, and unfortunately, internally, as departments, we could not present a budget amendment that needs to come from a county board supervisor, which we heard confirmed today and stated at the Human Resource Committee meeting that Supervisor Grishay was prepared to do that, and he had an amendment presented, language presented to Dave Ellinger in advance of that, and circumstances did not permit that to be presented on November 9th.
But just to clear those, the budget is the administrator's budget, right?
Correct.
Okay, so at some point after you gave it to us, you were informed that in your department heads, I assume, approved everything, or was there pressure from them prior to October to change this? I'm trying to understand how we're getting, after the fact, after the budget is approved, that we want to put another 2% in. When there's a March to October time period to explore this. And now it seems after the fact, we're doing it.
And that is coming from a supervisor.
I understand, but David, nobody contacted me. There was no discussion on the board floor in November. There was no discussion on the board floor in October. And I don't know if Mr. Grishay attended that first meeting, but there was no discussion about this. And now after the fact, we're trying to find money.
Sir, we got a directive from the finance committee not to use any fund balance to apply it against the levy. If we're going, sir, if we're going to give employees more, there had to be a cut elsewhere.
Amen, amen. I remember one time in here where the administrator recommended a 3% increase, and I said, where's the money going to come from? And the answer was the department heads were going to make it work. So the department heads may have to make it work if you're going to give them more money, correct?
Yes, if the county board adopts a budget, the department heads make it work. I get, this is my personal opinion now, I get the impression that people are trying to second guess the decision process all the way around. I have said in the past that we cannot continue to have fund balance applied. The finance committee took what I said into it. And I'm gonna continue on my soapbox here. I absolutely agree that protecting the taxpayers from excess taxation is important. I absolutely agree with that. However, take that hat off, put on your board of directors hat. You are the board of directors of a municipal corporation with about $180 million in expenditures. This is not a small place. The county has many functions that private industry does not want to do. So therefore, we have to do it. Or the statutes say that we have to do it. We are constrained in many ways. And I look at the fact that there is a hard time hiring. The sheriff has talked about his counterparts are having $2, $3, $4 more for correctional officers. I'm looking at Becky. Human Services cannot hire an accountant. We've had a position open for accounting in 5 months now, something like that. If you look at the Wisconsin Government Finance Officers Association, there is a dearth, or there is a large number of job openings out there. You can't find governmental accountants. We have just lost a human resources director. She's gone to another agency. There are multiple HR openings around the state. It's getting harder and harder to bring in people here. So why are we looking at the timing of all this? We are trying to get the 2% increase passed. If you're saying, we just did this a month ago, why are we doing this? We just approved multiple budget amendments right now. We just adopted the budget. If you're going to be really strict about things, calendar year, this is 2021. Calendar year 20, the county board was over budget. If you were going to follow the strict interpretation of the statutes, the county board should have said, we can't meet anymore. The staff couldn't do it. Right now, Human Services is over budget because of placements. We've had a huge number of placements involved. If we were going to follow the letter of the law on the statutes, we should have said back in, I think it was about November 10th, sorry, we're over budget, Human Services closed. You have to be realistic in things. And just, please do not push it saying, we just did this a month ago, we can't make any changes.
But
I agree with you, Dave.
But, hold on.
A budget is a flexible thing. There's no reason we can't change it now.
But if it was identified 5 months ago that you were having difficulties in hiring people, why did that come to the board? Why wasn't that part of the decision process made in November? For us, as a board. Nobody, I mean nobody, not one person, not one employee, one department head, not one supervisor contacted me nor said anything that, hey, 1.25% isn't gonna work. It's not gonna work. But now, after the fact, it's like, we should have known that. And I agree that we just did this less than 4 weeks ago.
We're gonna shut off that kind of debate now. We're gonna talk about whether we're gonna do it now.
Sure.
Not whether it was done, should have been done before, so.
Is that we were going back to the original request? Can we get it to a dollar amount? And I will 100% endorse that, and I will even go to your HR committee meeting and get on my own soapbox about why it's important.
Yeah, we, what's before us is the percentage. If, I think we can do a couple of things. One is we can give the fiscal note as presented. The second is we could sign on the way it is. And the third, I think, is we could make a recommendation to change it to a flat amount. I think those are our three choices. I don't think Kim is here to keep me straight and narrow.
I would agree. I would encourage the committee to sign on with this and then make a recommendation that we look at trying to adjust wages so that we have a more equitable per dollar amount, so we don't have the disparities. But at least move forward with this and send a message to our employees that, hey, we want to do right by you, and this is how we're going to do it. And then seriously look at trying to come up with a wage plan that takes care of the disparity that we now have.
Jim?
Just a point of clarification, with that calculation, the estimate from the general fund is $683,000 as prepared by Dave. If there's a transition to say 31 cents, so it turns out to be 35 cents or 25, whatever that amount is, that'll change that $683. It'll be something less, because Clearview will be asked to absorb a greater share of that. And because the $683 does not include Clearview, and there was the understanding that Clearview's budget would absorb that 2%, correct? And now, if there's a change to, say, again, if it's 35 cents, the general fund request will decrease, and there'll be an increase from the Clearview's budget perspective because of that. Also, just want to point of clarification, if the proposal to go with a fixed amount is approved, it's my understanding or my interpretation, or maybe I'm incorrect here, but the 1.25% would remain, and this would be, say it's 31 cents or 35 cents would be in addition to that. Is that correct?
I think that would be, yeah, I think that would be it, because it's the 2% is what we're looking at now. So it would be the 2% or a flat fee, flat figure.
So the compensation plan would be adjusted by the 1.25%, and then if this would be approved at the county board level, then there would be an additional adjustment of, say, 31 cents or 35 cents.
What would be the challenge in just having the full 3.25% be a dollar amount? What's the challenge in that? It's still going to require a 2/3 vote, no matter what we decide to do, because it's post. So what would be the challenge?
Well, the 1.25 is established to begin on January 1 through the payroll process and through finance, through our chrono system. So that's in place to begin, shortly. And, from what I'm hearing or understanding, because I'm not quite sure if something's going to be brought forward on December 21st. That's what the Human Resource Committee voted to do, is to bring it to county board, bring it here to the county board on the 21st. That's the direction of the Human Resource Committee. And so I'm not sure from the mechanics how that changes. And then if there's an adjustment of a fixed amount sometime in January, then a question is that retroactive, or does that start on a date certain? And I'm not sure how that's going to impact our overall compensation plan, because our compensation plan, which was just implemented, as Sarah had indicated, is based on a percentage basis. And so I'm not sure the impact on the overall adopted compensation plan, what that has on it.
I guess my thought would be that it will need to come to county board in the form it is right now, and there would have to be an amendment on the county board floor to change to a flat fee. And my thought in being in business, I would not want to make it retroactive. I would want to go to a start date and then adjust the base if that's the way we go.
So then is the intent, I'm hearing different things, maybe this is on the line as a question. Is it the intent going forward that any cost of living adjustments will be a fixed amount versus a percentage like Social Security is?
I think that's a discussion that has been asked to have, whether our policy would change to go to a fixed amount rather than a percentage going forward. I think that's a discussion. We've had that a couple of years ago. Obviously, it's still an item of interest. I think we probably need to have that discussion. Possibly with HR and finance again, so. Well,
I
hang on,
have
Jim.
one other question. It is related to this, but are there positions that are red circled, redlined, whatever, throughout the county that do not receive this one way or the other, or does everyone, even if they have a red circle, do they also get a cost of living increase?
So, as we sit here today, there is nobody red circled, but typically what happens is, a red circle wage is a wage that is beyond the maximum step. And so typically what happens, then is that they stay at that wage until such time as the, labor parade catches up to them and their wage falls back within that labor parade.
So all employees will receive a cost of living increase in January?
Yes.
Regardless of how we,
Yeah. How it's budgeted
Thank you.
right now is everybody would get a 1.25% on January 1.
Except for those people not in the class and comp plan.
Correct.
And sworn officers.
So can we use this, I don't know if that's the right number, 653,000 to say we want to distribute this on an even dollar basis across our employees?
That is what Supervisor Sheehan-Malloy is suggesting.
Yeah.
And I think that would be something that would have to come, an amendment at the county board level at this point.
That changes the numbers, as Jim pointed out. I don't know the numbers, but Clearview is going to go up.
Right. Jim, please. We'll go to Jim and then Ed.
But then point of clarification, because if you're gonna do this 30 cents or whatever it turns out to be, trying to collect my thoughts here, because of Clearview, because right, as I stated right now, the 683 does not include Clearview. So if the intent is to take the 683 and then divide it amongst Clearview and non-Clearview, then that amount's going to decrease. It won't be 30 cents if it's just $683,000.
Do we know what the number
It's
is
going
for
to be,
Clearview?
I mean, just, it was, I think the full board was,
You're right, the 683 was for non-Clearview.
correct.
And if you're gonna divide that through by the number of non-Clearview employees, you come up with a fixed
Right.
amount. Now that, when you translate it to Clearview, that, and again, we don't know what that would be. We have to do a lot more research to accomplish in 5 minutes here.
Right, it's
But
going to be a significant
it could
number.
be a significantly higher number.
Correct.
Or it could be a significantly lower number. I don't know. Is your intent that we would look at salaries at Clearview, do 2% and then divide that through by the number of employees? And that comes up with a fixed dollar amount? Or is your intent to say it's gonna be the exact same at Clearview as we have at the other areas? And with that, again, you know, we participate in a salary study that's exclusive to nursing homes. It's exclusive to county homes and nonprofit nursing homes. and nursing homes within our region, nonprofit. But since the McGrath study occurred 2.5 years ago, a lot is, you're gonna see change in wages in the nursing home industry. And we are far behind, just based on results we got that are as of November 4th of this year. And at the last HR committee, they had asked to look at some, I think it was somebody in Russell's area, to look at, where the wages had fallen far behind. We have a couple of positions, just because of what's happened in our industry, just because so many people left the industry, wages have gone way up. I'm gonna be coming to the committee to be looking at a handful of positions, and, it's gonna be, for us to be able to approve, it costs more. And there's just a lot of things fall into place. Without the staff, we can't bring in, we can't increase our census. There's a lot of things that play into that. So I'm not quite sure where you're headed with that fixed dollar amount. That's not gonna fix our recruiting problems. The percentage would be a starting point.
Jim?
Just piggyback on that, because that's based on our challenges. We've heard with the corrections officers and what the county's wage compares, our current county wage compares to, say, Fond du Lac County, where about $4 less. Yeah, going to a fixed dollar amount, say for the corrections officers, an additional 30 cents isn't going to address the issue. It's not. It's not going to address the challenges faced here in Dodge County. 31 cents or even 35 cents isn't going to address that. I understand the intent to make it equitable, and that's the board's decision. That's the board's choice to do that, and I respect that. But at the end of the day, it's not going to address our challenges here. It just won't.
35 cents or whatever that dollar amount is certainly going to address it more than 13 cents. B, I personally take an awful lot of flack being anti, if you don't support it my way, you're anti-employee, and that is categorically untrue. What I'm trying to do is say a COLA increase, a cost of living increase, if it is a cost of living that you're looking at, the cost of bread, the cost of insurance, the cost of whatever, it's the same for everybody. And if we're really trying to address cost of living, then let's address it. And the people who are complaining and are frustrated with not having raises, this to me addressed that. If you don't want to back it, I accept that. I certainly,
Richie?
Yeah, as much as I have fought for a regular wage increase rather than a percentage, at this time, I believe it is in the best interest of the county to move forward with the 2% for this year and address that issue in the following year. I agree with you 100%, Carol, about equal wage increase for everyone. But to address this issue that we have right now, I believe this is the time that we have to at least do what we can. As far as Dave saying that it was never brought forward, well, at the public hearing, you couldn't make amendments. I was there. And at budget, when it was adopted, I was out of the country. And they were aware that I was coming forward with a resolution for a wage increase. So I'm just addressing your issue. Dave saying that it was never brought forward. Well, it was brought forward. And at this time, I think the best that we can do for our employees is to go forward with the original resolution. And I wish that you would support it.
Do we have a motion? I think so.
Yeah, we have a motion.
I made the motion. We have a motion to support the resolution as submitted, is that correct?
Second by Becker.
Yeah, okay. So that's where we're at right now. The
Well,
motion.
I guess I agree with Kira about dollar amount. It's gonna, the percentage thing affects the lower people. Doesn't give them anywhere near what a guy making 100,000 is getting. So I'll still support this motion to give them a 2% increase.
Okay, one more.
my question is actually for Kevin. and we support this with an amendment attached, that it is a dollar amount, rather than a fixed dollar amount for everyone across the board, so that we are still supporting it, but not.
I believe we'd have to do that at the county board floor.
From a strict numbers point of view, you need, if you want to do that, we have to recalculate it. Because you, right now, this is saying, I am going to increase wages and benefits general fund by $349,694. That's a dollar amount. Unless I recalculate it, I don't know what that number is going to be, and county board can't adopt a resolution without numbers.
So what I would recommend in response to your question is, if that is a thought, so you've got a motion on the floor of the board, or on the floor of the committee, to move it to the board as presented. If at the county board meeting on the 21st, you want to make an amendment to a fixed dollar amount, whatever that is, that's something that you can do on the floor of the board. I think it would be better to do it there, because then that would give some time to calculate. It's kind of like a budget amendment. We would want to have a heads up so that there's an opportunity to calculate what that amount is. So that's something that you could do. I would recommend that you handle it that way, rather than trying to put together some amendment today with, with numbers that we don't have.
I don't expect him to pull those out of his hat, as magic as I think he might be. I don't expect him to do that often. I want to be able to support it, and I won't support it in its current form, but if we're going to bring forward an amendment and you can have that worked on before the county board meeting, I can get behind it.
Okay, the motion is to sign on to bring forward to the county board in its current form. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
And one opposed, so we will bring it forth in its current form.
Like I say, I'm going to make the amendment and I'll support it on the floor.
Okay. All right, the next one is the resolution authorizing COVID-19 premium bonuses. Jim?
If I could, Mr. Chair, just to clarify, because there's some misinformation out there, just want to clarify for the record that this resolution for the COVID bonus pay, that there was discussion held internally with various departments and also in the management council. And the discussion centered on the 2% cost of living adjustment and the COVID bonus plan pay that's been discussed for a number of months now. And it was the consensus or unanimous belief by all involved that trying to do both at one time was very problematic. And the Human Resource Committee last week, that was noted, but the Human Resource Committee made the decision to go forward. It's not being pushed by myself, it's not being pushed by other department heads, that we understand the situation, we understand what the perception looks like with an additional 2% and then the COVID bonus, that speaking from my perspective and others, would the employees, the ones who are here every day, appreciate the bonus? Absolutely. Would they look upon it favorably? Absolutely. But looking at the big picture and what's being proposed, having both at the same time, we understand the problem that it creates and the angst that it creates. And if there's an opportunity to do something on the other end, which it sounds like there is, something like this could be certainly addressed at a later time, especially with the February 1st county board meeting to discuss ARPA. So I just want to try and clear the air a little bit and get some of the facts presented.
So, should we move to delay till February 1st?
Well, after that, I don't know if that would be our
But again, the Human Resource Committee signed off.
Yeah,
That's a
I
Tim
think
question.
we would just be signing on to the fiscal note at this time. And I think we could relay to the Human Resource Committee that I think the consensus of the Finance Committee would be that they should pull that resolution.
That's a consensus.
If that's a consensus, I think that would be into our minutes that we would recommend. Kim, you have a different opinion, or?
This is here just for fiscal note, so certainly that's what you're considering. And if you want to relay a message or information to the board, you can do that as a finance committee and treat it on the floor of the board, whether that be a motion to postpone to the February 1st meeting, or there's many options for the supervisors to treat it on the floor of the board.
Yeah. So we, at this point, I think we can approve the fiscal note to take it in its current form and then see what action will be taken at the board. We will. Entertain a motion to approve the fiscal note.
Is that a motion to approve fiscal note for the purpose of taking it forward?
Do I have a second?
Well, the fiscal was correct, I can't argue with that, but.
That's all we're doing, that's all we're doing.
Yeah, second, Diane. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I think we are to number 7, consider, discuss, take possible action to write off Clearview receivables.
Good morning, this is, we come to you periodically with these. You know, some of them is for individuals who just didn't pay their bills. Some are for insurance denials. Some are for untimely claims. Nicole here, she can go deeper into the weeds with them for you. I can say that since Nicole started back in 2019, historically, the write-offs were significantly higher. They've come down quite a bit. We budget $350,000 a year as an allowance for uncollectible debt. We're going to fall well short of that this year. Her specialty is collections, so she's done a tremendous job since she's come on. You know, unfortunately, this is just one of the costs of doing business. Any specific questions to address?
Questions?
So we need a motion to approve the write-offs.
Approve the
I'll move.
write-offs. Have a motion by Ed, second by Nancy. Okay, all in favor, signify by aye.
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 Opposed? That was good. Thank you. Number 8 is the update regarding the 2022 roof replacement project at the courthouse. We aren't that intimidating, Russ.
No, just a couple points, I guess Russ and I can tag team on it, but we'll go back to the adopted budget. So I don't want to bring up sore subjects, but the adopted budget does include the allocation of dollars for the roof replacement at the courthouse and the jail. And the number that was built into the budget was a number provided by the contractor at that time, based on the square footage. We're looking at approximately, with the contingency, about 1.4 million. And that's included in the adopted sales tax, funded through sales tax. Russ recently learned, and this was brought to the building committee, but the pricing on the roofing has increased about 30%. And so instead of a $1.4 million project, including contingency and consulting fees, we believe at this time that probably be looking at closer to a project budget of $2 million. We don't know that for certain at this point. The bidding process, best case scenario, have bids early in 2022, maybe the first quarter of 2022, and that'll determine the actual dollar amount. But we thought it was prudent to bring this information to the Finance Committee as soon as it was learned that the amount that's in the current budget is not going to be adequate to do the project and the scope of the project as adopted in the 22 budget.
So really, this is informational, it won't be anything that calculates the actual figures.
Yeah, looking at some options, could there be some alternatives or alternate budget or alternate bidding to try and adjust that cost? We don't know at this time, so all options are being looked at. But again, the intent is still to move forward with the bidding process to obtain the actual amount. But right now, we certainly believe that what's in the current adopted budget is light compared to the current economic conditions or economic realities.
I guess I don't memorize all that stuff. Is this supposed to come out of sales tax?
Yes,
Okay. So we may be able to find some extra sales tax money?
that's the option by the Finance Committee and the board.
Once you know the actual figure, we'll have to identify before we approve the project.
But one thing I want to say is that delaying it, I mean, we have enough challenges there that Russ is dealing with some leaks, and postponing it another year is not really in the best interest of the county either, based on maintenance issues and
Question?
Yeah, what is that in? Go ahead, Russ.
We've had, well over 50 leaks between the courthouse and the jail. So the roof is beyond its useful life. And we have patched, and we continue to patch. But hopefully we can find the dollars to move forward with the project.
Well, it's just going to destroy more things because we'll find the dollars.
Pardon?
It's just going to destroy more things that we will.
Correct. In those 50 leaks, that costs us the dollar amount to do the leaks outside, but that doesn't include any of the internal stuff that we have to replace.
I don't think we're having any problem with the merits of the project. We'll just have to find the money at the time, so.
Was the 30% increase based on the estimate from the original contractor that got you the number, Russ, or how did that number come about?
Basically, they came and said, hey, the supplies have went up that amount. He said it's a volatile thing from day to day, to be honest with you. He said, 2022, supplies start coming in more than what they have been. Maybe price was down a little bit, but he just wanted to give me that heads up as soon as he could. And like Jim said, best case scenario, we are going to have a building committee meeting on the 21st. If we can get bids out early, that would be ideal. We would know the dollar amount. The longer we wait to get bids out into later into the year, that dollar amount just goes up drastically because contractors are going to be scheduled. So the plus side is, one of the gentlemen did say that because of the size of this project, he does believe that it'll be bid nationally, and I just don't.
I would agree with that. Get bids and get going on this as soon as reasonably possible, because now is the best time to get the best bids this time of the year. And if the whoever the contractor is, and get their pricing locked in on the materials. It's going to avoid future inflationary pressures that are continuing.
Okay. Thanks for the update. Number 9, the American Rescue Plan Act obligations to date, et cetera.
Should be a document that David sent out. It's posted to the county's website year to date since March. We've known about the American Rescue Plan Act since March, and the expenses to date are $50,674 to date. And the obligation, as noted there with the broadband study, is approximately $74,000. We have not received any affirmative confirmation from the Dodge County Housing Authority regarding the status of the grant for that $350,000. So that may be an obligation, it may not be. It's our understanding that grant awards could be known by the end of this month. That might be a little optimistic on the time frame, but so it's the 350 is displayed there, but it's unknown whether that'll be an actual commitment. And this document is available to the public on the county's website. As it's updated, this one is updated as of December 8th. So for full transparency, it's there. And it's under the county board homepage. There's a tab on the left-hand side for the American Rescue Plan Act, and this is where the document can be found.
And then, of course, the February 1st special county board meeting for the ARPA discussion, and more information coming on that.
Just for your awareness, the county board packet will contain the examples or documents that were provided to the executive committee. So how some of our colleagues across the state have utilized the American Rescue Plan Act funds to date. And so that'll be part of the county board packet. So everyone has the opportunity to see that. And it's just trying to, an attempt to provide information in advance of the February 1st discussion.
Reporting guidelines,
There's a report due the end of January. It'll be a pretty short one at this point.
okay. And we've already talked about ARPA projects, or what we're into at this point, and February 1st we will be starting to bat.
And then for clarification, we are internally working with department heads. They are putting a list together of potential projects and equipment to be presented as well. Again, it's a starting point for discussion. It's not a commitment or anything. It's just presenting ideas and potential and possibilities.
All right, number 10 is the recap of the 2022 budget process. We got started, I never read it.
For good or for bad.
We have a formal recap.
Well, I've asked for this, I asked Dave to have this put on the agenda since we're, the process is fairly recent in all of our minds, and we're always looking for ways to improve the process and trying to obtain, some feedback regarding the process. I think everyone involved recognized that splitting out the public hearing from the day of the actual budget meeting worked out very, very well, and we would certainly hope that the finance committee and the board would continue that process of separating that out. I think it afforded a great opportunity for board discussion, and starting the 23 process, I think it would be helpful. Again, it goes back to our earlier discussion on cost of living and increases. If there's a defined policy, or if there's some criteria that's used. A couple of years ago, there was an attempt to adjust the cost of living so it matched to Social Security, which at that time Social Security was 0.06. to lower the cost of living to match Social Security. And so is that a benchmark, cost of living to match Social Security? Or is there some state benchmark? Or is there some other criteria to link it to? So it's a full understanding by the Human Resource Committee, the administration, county board. I mean, just food for thought, not looking for answers today, but is there a way to do it, to link it to a known amount? If the intent is still to keep a percentage basis versus a fixed amount.
Yeah, I think the process actually went fairly smoothly this year compared to some we've had. The one thing I think we need to impress upon everyone involved, county board, is that the dates are set early in the year, and we need to understand that it's critical that we're involved on those dates and try to prevent some of this discussion we had today. So I think the process worked well. I think we can tweak it a little, but I think it worked well.
Dave, with that being said, most likely bring the 23 budget schedule to the Finance Committee no later than March, and that'll set the key milestone dates in March for the 23 budget process.
All right, number 11, review, discuss potential departmental deficits for 2021. First one is Human Services and Health.
Your packet has a letter that I sent to HR and the chairs of both Human Services, sent to Human Services, as well as the chair of the Human Services and Finance Committees. The Human Services Department has been making the board well aware, or excuse me, their committee well aware that they're anticipating a deficit well over $1 million due to placements. And as we anticipated, we got to a certain point and Munis said no more allowed expenditures. Well, as I had indicated earlier, if I'm going to follow these statutes, immediately it's like, okay, Human Services stop doing everything. You can't do that. So I put a temporary budget into the system and made everybody aware of it so that it wasn't occurring. At this point, the projections are that Human Services will still have enough fund balance to cover their deficit, so that they will not need a transfer from general fund.
Do we need to approve, or ratify what you've already done as a committee? Or I believe the committee supports that.
It would probably be a good idea. I don't have the budgetary authority.
Yeah.
This committee doesn't have the budgetary authority, but we have to be reasonable too.
Tim is not here. I guess from my point of view, we need to support the entries. If need be, it needs to be the county board as a budgetary authority to do it, that we may need to take that to board and have the board ratify in order to keep the departments running.
You could, but considering the board is going to meet December 21st or whatever the date is, got basically 10 days of operations and the year's done. It's kind of a moot point. You can do it if you want to.
Because my thought is this is an accounting thing to keep going.
Yeah.
That's, you have to just give Munis position permission to keep documents.
Right, and then part of the year-end process is increasing the authorized expenditures for Human Services, increasing a transfer from their general fund.
Okay. Yeah. My thought is just I don't want to leave you hanging out there. Sure.
Are we anticipating a deficit that's going to
human services?
Yeah. Do you anticipate that?
No, as I stated earlier, human services should have enough in their fund balance that we do not need anything from the general fund.
What about 2022?
We don't want to project that far out.
Well,
Well, I mean, we kind of
Yeah.
know what the projections are.
if our crystal ball is 100% accurate, they will have revenues matching expenditures and no need for fund balance.
That's the point at this point.
All right, county treasurer.
County treasurer, kind of same scenario. Expenditures are at a deficit this time due to an unplanned, what's the word I'm looking for? Brownfield reserve from the Monarch properties. The department's also going to have a deficit this year. Investment earnings in this environment are very hard to come by. So again, we could facetiously say, no, treasurer stop working, which means no property tax bills go out, no collections, nothing can get deposited to the bank. It's not reasonable.
And that one, we will likely have a general fund transfer.
Yes, that one will need a general fund transfer at year end.
And now the remaining departments.
As I brought up before, county clerk may have a deficit. It depends on how much they come in with marriage licenses, but their deficit is probably going to be less than $2,000. When I looked at the expenditures budget only, I did not see any departments that I'm anticipating going over budget for expenses.
Any questions on any of that? You. Number 12, review, take action regarding capital asset policy.
You should have a capital asset policy packet dated from 2018. That's the policy that we're actually using, but when I was searching for authority, I did not find it anywhere that the committee explicitly approved the policy.
Should probably do that.
Yes.
Well, I know we discussed it a couple years ago.
Yes, I'm sure you did. I think you probably got some affirmative saying, yes, it looks good, but I...
There was a consensus, but there's nothing on the record. I will make a motion to approve the capital asset policy.
Seconded by Kira. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, that is carried. All right. Patty.
The October report is in your packet, but I haven't had time to do the November. So it's in the process, but I just didn't get it done in time for the meeting.
Got the investments there, so, and what the returns are. The banking reconciliation.
Kenzie's not here. Right now, they did an upgrade for us, the whole, with the big upgrade. We still are having trouble. When we try to go in there, we get errors. They're planning another update for the errors that we're having. So we have not been able to balance the bank statement for October or November. So we're kind of at a standstill right now. When we try to match the banking information to Munis, we get an error. So we're waiting I don't know if Dave knows anything more. I don't. That's the last I heard.
The software update that we put in, it supposedly was fixing the problem. It did not fix the problem, so we're waiting for the next update.
Is this with units or with papers?
Eunice,
Yeah.
All right, then, budget reports, do you want to go through those, or finance and so forth?
sure. Finance, not much to report. Still have a healthy surplus, but now that we have a purchasing agent in place, I don't anticipate having a surplus next year. Sales tax revenue, according to the report, of about 7.5 million. That's for 11 months. Paving project, I'm still waiting on some invoices to come through. Simulcast, we actually did an accrual, or opened up a purchase order for the dollar amount, although it's not transferred yet. It was about $300 less than the budgeted amount. Radio dispatch project, and my understanding, as the sheriff and chief deputy are gone, is that some of the project will have to be carried forward into next year, so that'll be part of the carry forward process. For general revenues, we have gotten all the state shared revenues that are coming in. The only transfers out that I have not done yet is for the HVAC project in the courthouse and jail, because that's still in transit. And if you're looking at retiree payouts for the general fund, right now we're about 25.6 over budget. I'm anticipating there's going to be more payouts. I know of at least one for the human services director. We'll have to see where we're at.
Human resources director.
Human resources director, thank you.
Yeah, okay, we don't.
Thank you
need
for
to use it other
correcting
way.
me. Too many account titles the same. Debt service has a healthy surplus this year, which we knew about because the bond premiums that came in, but we're required under IRS rules and governmental accounting to keep all that within debt service fund and elapsed to the general fund. And as a reminder, that fund balance was approved to be used in the 22 budget, so there's no debt levy for 22. Capital Projects Fund, at this point we can consider that all bond proceeds have been spent. I know that we're still waiting for vendor invoices on the various projects, and I know the state has not invoiced us yet for the several bridges that they're working on. I know two on the S because I saw it every day. I believe there's more, but those invoices have not come in yet. Something I added this time, as you have not seen it, I've also got the retirement payouts for human services in there. Right now, they've got $16,500 roughly available for the current year. I'm sure that there will be some payouts. I don't know the numbers, but the public health officer is leaving us, so I don't know what her time banks will be. But I'm anticipating that payout reserve will be spent. That's it on the year-to-date budget reports. Any questions? Okay. As about 7.5 million. Revenue to date, we only budgeted 6.8 million, so we're definitely going to be having a surplus there. As a reminder, the 22 budget used about $1.3 million of sales tax fund balance for various projects.
Questions? Interdepartment transfers.
You've got one in the file for highway for the vehicle service building floor.
And any questions on the vouchers of 10,000 or more? Pretty much what we see regularly. Okay, the next date, time, and place of the meeting in January, the regular meeting would be January 10th at 8 a.m. Does that work for everyone? And then the tender special meeting about the bonding and so forth, right, Dave, is what that one is for.